Okay, hey, happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Draglist Live, where we bench race with the world's top drag racers. I'm Bill Pratt. It's great to be with you tonight. Super excited because tonight we have Dan Pettinato, driver of the Rat Poison Fuel Altered. And we're going to go way back to the 60s with this legendary car and team and right up here to 2025. Lots of great things to talk about. Before we bring Dan in, let's go to John real quick. John, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great here, BP, and howdy from Houston, everybody. Please join us on the live chat. I'll take notes and I'll pass your questions and comments along to BP and Dan.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Folks, click the like down below, the little thumbs up, click the share, let your friends know we have Dan here live. And to prove it, let's bring him in. Dan Pettinato, welcome to the show.
How you doing, y'all? Thanks, Bill. Thanks for the
I'll
invitation.
take notes and I'll pass your questions.
Doing all right. Thank you, sir. We got all our muting done and we're good to go. So, man, we go way back, man. We're a Maryland guy. I'm right here in Waldorf. I know you know that area.
Oh,
Down
yeah.
there by Woods Creek. And of course, then about 20, 25 years ago, we raced together down with the classic Southern Fuel Coupes and the classic
right.
Thunder.
That's
Remember
right.
them funny car days for a bit. And of course, you're just tearing up the tracks with the Rat Poison these days. So,
That's
your
right.
family's been involved in racing from the 60s through the 2020s here, with a mix of fuel altereds, alcohol altereds, fuel dragsters, and even funny cars there for a while. Man, just give us an overview of all those years. You and your dad and all the guys that you raced with is pretty amazing.
Sure. I'd love to. Thank you for asking again. Yeah, this whole thing that we're involved with, our life really started with my dad in Montgomery County, Maryland in the late 50s. And as you know, that area was really prolific in hardcore drag racers. A lot of guys came from there.
Right.
Ramrods, Cottrell and Spielman, of course, John Morey, and so forth and so on. A lot of people. So, yeah, my dad and John Morey got together. They were actually childhood friends since about the age of 5. They were neighbors,
Wow.
grew up together, separated after high school. John went to trade school. Dad went to military school. Got back together, started campaigning a 33 Ford 5-window coupe in the gas classes at Aquasco and Capitol and Budds Creek and whatnot. And they ran that for a number of years. And then they decided to go faster. And they built about a 150-inch slingshot with an injected Chevy in it. Started off as a gas dragster, then became an injected junior fuel dragster. And then that was through about 67. And then around 68, the Pard family had that fuel altered circuit called Fuel Altereds Unlimited. It was really popular, as you know, Bill, all up and down the East Coast. And they thought, wow, man, it'd be neat to build a car like Gabby Bleecker. So they built a 1930 Austin fiberglass car that they pulled a mold off of with help of fiberglass trends, and they built and injected a fuel alter, which what the circuit was a fuel altered. And they were the only Hemi car from the very beginning after the junior fueler. They went, let's go right to 426 Elephant. And the majority of the cars we raced with were the 427 Rats. So Dad came up with the name. Let's call it Rat Poison. It'll sell match races. It'll look good for you announcers. We'll build it all up, as you're so good at doing. And that's how it started in about 68. And they kept running those fuel altereds, and as the cars were progressing, and they when the slipper clutches came in, the tires came in, the tracks came in, the engine got lower, the wheelbase got longer. So they had a progression of fuel altereds all through the 70s. And then even when they dropped the fuel altered class, they ran pro comp with the altereds.
Right.
And then, unfortunately, we lost John Morey in 79 from cancer. He died at 40 years old. And he was,
oh my goodness,
he was going up. And I mean, all their cars were in house built chassis. Everything but the paint was built in a 2-car garage in Wheaton, Maryland. So, and then, so my family moved out west for the Fuel Altered Nationals in 1975. My mother went out there with my father for the second year. They went all the way to Tucson, towed from Maryland. My mother freaked out, fell in love with it. We moved there, and within a year we were living there. And then, long story short, we built street rods and stuff for a while, and then I came up of age and started drag racing. I grew up in a 1940 Ford Coupe, a flathead, just like the 50s, street racing
Right.
and stuff. And then that progressed into Southern California, and we started doing land speed racing
Wow.
at the El Mirage Dry Lake and Bonneville Salt Flats. Did that with roadsters for about 5 years. And then about that time, the nostalgia thing started catching on big time in the late 80s, mid to late
Right.
80s in Southern California. And I got together with some friends and we built a 150-inch original SPE car. And in fact, it was a Billy the Kid top gas car. And we put a fuel motor in it and high gear only, just like it would have been 150 inches. And we ran that for a couple of years until we had an unfortunate incident with it at Bakersfield in 1990, and I rolled the car trying to qualify it late at night in Bakersfield. That was the end of that thing, unfortunately. Today, that car would have been a cackle car when we push started it, everything in competition.
Where did you live when you were out there? I mean, were you in the LA area?
Yeah, it was Southern California, all over. Number of years. We lived in Long Beach, Huntington Beach, and then ended up in Irvine. Our shop was in Anaheim, right off Catella Avenue, right between Disneyland and Angel Stadium on Catella Avenue. And so we crashed that car and we built a state-of-the-art nostalgia fuel dragster, 200 inches, still high gear only. Couldn't run the late model in those days. It wasn't legal. You had to run a 392 or a wedge head Chevrolet.
Yeah.
So we ran the early Chryslers, and that car was really neat. We did good with it. I learned a lot. I cut my teeth on tuning on that car. This was in the very early 90s. I was in my 20s. And I got some people that took me under their wing. Probably didn't want to see me get burned to death. So, a guy named Ralph Gore kind of took me under his wing and used to come to my shop and go racing with me. And he brought me from being a guy scratching his head to where I was halfway know what I was doing. I learned a lot from Ralph, and God bless him.
Knows his fuel systems, doesn't he?
Yep. Yeah. And then so we started out running with the NDRA and then the good guys, and then NHRA came aboard and we started doing these reunions. And I was there I did the first 4 or 5 in Bakersfield. I did them all. And then we couldn't handle the LA area anymore. It got insane even back then after the Rodney King riots and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And we decided to kind of get back to Maryland. I still have my grandmother and my aunts and uncles, and we found out Maryland was much like Southern California as far as financially trying to survive there. You know all about it. So we ended up in South Carolina where my dad had match raced in the 70s and thought, hey, man, that Spartanburg's a pretty cool place. So we ended up here. He came with us and we moved here, and we ran the field dragster one time at the Super Stock reunion at Dinwiddie at Virginia Motorsports Park.
Good old Frank Spittle's race.
Frank Spittle put the race on. He was a great guy. And it was an 8-car show. And all my buddies, I hadn't seen him in almost a year. And I go to VMP and all my friends are there from Southern California, just about all of them. Guasco was there, and Bob Halleck was there. Neil Basiglia was there. Pete Kaiser was supposed to come. He couldn't make it, if I remember right. But there was 8 of us. And we hadn't run a car in almost a year. We did real good with it, qualified like number 2. We went to the final round against Paul Romine. Wow. And he was hot off that first 5-second run in a front engine car.
Yeah.
And he had a full Donovan with Clayton Harris tuning it, and I had a 57 Chrysler with concrete in the block, you know. He's trying to keep the cylinder walls alive in it. But we hung with him for a while. I went to the starting line with 10 pounds of oil pressure.
Wow.
And we heard the crank on the semis, and we were racing. Those guys were running teens, And Frank Cad's Root Beer, a dear friend of mine, he was there, and he came right before I got in the car. He said, "What hand do you drive with?" I said, "Well, my
Oops,
left."
a little bit of a lockup.
He
There we
said, "Give
go.
me your right."
And we're locking up a little bit, Dan. You might have to ask
Are
it.
you still there?
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
There you go. So if you can repeat what Root Beer Hedge was telling you with your hands.
Yeah. So Root Beer said what he knew we only had 10 pounds of oil pressure and we warmed it up. And he was standing there and he said, "What hand do you drive with?" I said, "My left." And he reached in his pocket and he pulled out a red grease rag he had folded up. And he said, "Put this in your right hand and your glove. Get some race tape and tie it." I said, "What for?" He said, "Because you're going to be wearing that thing. You're going to have to wipe that burning oil off your face mask. I want you
Yeah.
to wear this." So I got dressed. I put my gloves on. He was right there and he taped that glove to my palm. And we went to the line with 10 pounds of oil pressure. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to hang with Roman. That thing was going to in case he went or something. I went about 100 feet and shut it off. God, lost you again. You still there, Bill?
Yeah, we're there.
We're having
We
a
lost
bad
a little
storm.
bit of that. Did we have to wipe that oil off?
Okay.
I guess.
No, it actually stayed together. I was with him for about 100 feet, and he started leaving me, and I shut it off before it was on me. And but it was fun.
Yeah.
That's one of those front engine dragster dealer stories that you never forget.
Heck yeah. Well,
So we did that. Yeah. And that led to the kids started being born. So I had to sell the car. I sold everything I had. And then not long went by and I met you. I started hanging around with these alcohol guys. And I started tuning on some Altereds and some funny cars and stuff. And then I started driving them when I met you.
yeah.
And did that for a while. That was a hoot, man. We're barnstorming up and down the East Coast almost every week with those alcohol cars on tracks we had no business on. Remember, like
True.
Souls.
Yeah, believe me. Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that brought us into the kids getting older, and we went junior dragster racing for like 10 years. I put the big stuff away, and I really committed with my son, junior dragster, and we did it very competitively until he aged out. And the day after he aged out, we started building the new fuel altered.
Wow.
And so we built this Fiat. We built this, everybody saw 8-9 years ago, we started building this Fiat. And we put a KB in it and a 2-speed and a 21-gallon pump, just like a heritage car would be.
Right.
And
is that your own chassis?
No, it was actually a guy named J. Ed Horton. Everybody knows J. Ed.
Okay.
Out of Belton, South Carolina, built the car originally. And so we started running that with a full load in it. And we did good. We match raced a lot. We went 590 250 with it at Virginia Motorsports Park with Ron Hope on the other lane in the rat trap. And that was really something. That was our first 5. That was in 2019.
Wow.
And we ran that car for a while and had a great time. And then we didn't have a great time. We crashed it pretty hard racing the stand balls in a match race. Matt and Robin. At night, of course. It's always at night. But so we had a problem with the right front wheel lockdown. Of all things, the cotter pin broke, locked the castle nut down, and the car went 90 degrees about half track, and that was the end of that car. So we still had match races to do for that season. So we worked really hard, my son and I, Robbie, and we worked really hard, and the whole crew, and we built another car running that roadster. We built it in 90 days, and by October we were back at Dinwiddie doing another match race with it. It hadn't had any paint on it, but the car was running. So, and that brings us up to this new car. We've done really well with it, and run all over, and we just have had a ball with all our friends. All the who's who of fuel alters. We've been to California with it. We run. We haven't gone quite as fast as that Fiat was slick now. This
Right.
Roadster's got a lot of negative area. It's still a nostalgia car, basically. We went 592 with it, 245, but we haven't gone over 250 with this new car yet. We hope to this season. So that brings us up to date with this new 23T. And it's got
It's
a
a
brand.
beauty.
Thank you.
I saw you tearing it up down at Bud's Creek. So you've run it every year since you built it, right?
Yeah, pretty much. We haven't got invited to come this year, but we did pretty good with it at Bud's. That's where we went in the quarter mile. We went 592 there. In the 8 mile, I think we went 387, maybe 383, 387, 388, right in there.
It's amazing. But I have to figure out the Bud's Creek, the nostalgia deal this year, because I've seen, I know Jaguars promoting the bunny race, but I didn't see the Funny Car Chaos event on the calendar on the Bud's Creek site.
I don't know why, because the Funny Car Chaos thing was very well represented. I think there was nearly 40 funny. You were there that night.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And I know, I'm not sure why they didn't try doing it again, but I think they should. And they can pack the place in.
Yeah, I'll have to pick up the phone and figure out what's going on. We got the President's Cup again. That might be the real, because that's
I saw where they're bringing in some big show type fuel cars for that. I don't know any more than that, but we're out. I spent a lot of my childhood at Bud's Creek. That's I feel like that's our home track.
Yeah,
and everybody in our crew, we go down to Captain Billy's there on the creek, and
heck yeah,
have the best seafood there is, man.
That's
right. You've been there. You know what I'm talking about. Nothing but
my kids grew up back there. They'd take them in the back when they were little kids and show them the crabs and stuff.
Yeah. Did you go to Robertson? Did you go to Robertson? Did you go to Robertson's Crab House?
I've been there a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I started in like the late '60s when I was a little kid. I started going there, and then of course it's gone. But yeah.
That's the legit stuff. I took my kids to a red lobster once. They're like, "What is this stuff?" Man?
Right, man. If you know, you know. And when you go to that place, nothing else is equal. It's like heaven, So, and if you don't know where it is, you won't find it. It's locals only deal. But when I was taking
many a drag racer down that lonely, windy road, though.
That's so true. I was going to say, when I was a kid, there was nothing to see. Fuel alters on open trailers and ramp truck funny cars and everything out in the parking lot. It was the place to go. Yeah. Cold beer.
Getting down that last little half turn past the tree. It's heck of a thing with the trailer.
It's very, very tight.
We got John is there with all our pals on the chat line. John, let's see what's going on out there. John, who we got with us tonight?
Well, we have quite a few people showed up. We haven't got to the West Coast yet, but we will, I'm sure. There's no doubt about it. Rich Panicaro and Mark Malinsky in New Jersey say good evening to everybody. Rodney Potter in Wayne, New York says good evening. And Jack Red just showed up. He says hi, everyone.
JA approved, right? JA approved, Jack.
There you go.
Talk about being there in the old days. You know my dad pretty well. Yeah.
Heck yeah.
And we have a guy that made a post by the name of 48 Austin 512. And he says, love the history, Dan. You're telling us some great stories. And I just thought I'd mention, I appreciated you talking about the 30 Austin, because when I put that picture in your graphic from the front page of the Drag Times, I said, I wonder what the deal was on that car. That was one of y'all's first fuel altered, wasn't it?
Yeah, that picture was the second one. That picture is about 71 at Maple Grove. And that is a glass. My dad and John Morey, Frank Pettinato and John Morey, bought a running 1930 Austin steel car just to get the body from it. Then they junked the rest of it. It wasn't worth nothing in those days, And they sent the steel body with a trucker friend of theirs to the West Coast to fiberglass trends. And he pulled the mold off that body. And believe it or not, that mold is around, and there's guys popping bodies off Dad's original mold. You can buy them today. same rat poison mold. But back then, it was the only glass Austin ever. And yeah, and of course, Bleeker's was iron, steel car, real one. And that thing was injected fuel on 98%, and it was wild, man. It ran a best of 742 in 1972.
Wow.
It
Yeah,
was
you guys were. I've actually got. Well, Maple Grove. I saw that, and that's what we had officially. But Maple Grove credits you guys with a 702 on their Hall of Fame. And
they do. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. It did go 702. That was in the Roadster. After that, Austin, the clutches got really good, and in the winter of 72, 73, Dad and John built a Roadster with a 27T body, not a 23T, a 27T, which is kind of unusual to see on a fuel altered. And they built it with the latest type, funny car type chassis. Of course, it was still only 102 inches long. It was 102, but the crank was real low in it. And they had in those days, it was revolutionary, Bill. It had an aluminum Mylodon in it.
Wow.
Yeah, and had a Lenco in it. And they built, this is pretty revolutionary, they built a nitrous oxide system, their own deal. There was nothing in those days, NOS didn't even exist. They built this stuff. They used medical grade bottles. They learned how to do it from World War II fighter plane mechanics that my dad was friends with. And they had a separate set of nozzles. They metered it through a barrel valve underneath the throttle pedal. They painted the green bottle from the drugstore. They painted it red. It looked just like a fire bottle. It went through NHRA tech. They never said nothing about it. John would literally turn a ball valve on right before he staged, and the motor would get real loud because of all the nitrous being pumped into it. And that thing ran as good as a blown car because it had as much nitro as they could put in it, and the nitrous oxide. Had like 16 nozzles in the early 70s in that thing.
Wow.
And it was something. It thundered. It went
I love it.
198 in that injected car.
Yeah. Yep. And did it all over the place. 72 and 74, and you kind of hit the same numbers, and then went alcohol racing at 5, 6, 7 years later at 78, and finally hit the sixes.
That's right. John, they dropped the A fuel and went blown alcohol, like Manzo was doing. Dick Balling's Deadly Weapon, they were good friends with, and it went like 686 before John, in like 1977 it went 686, and then John got too sick to drive, but before he got too sick, he won Division II Pro Comp Championship with it.
Wow.
Again, and Joe Petro, the Kamikaze, runnered up to him with the rear engine dragster, the double A dragster. But and John, if he'd have lived, his star was going up. He was a Dale Armstrong type guy.
Can't believe he was only 40. I mean, now that we look back from our ages now, 40, it's like a kid, but people did.
They were doing that stuff. They were like 29, 30 years old. I'm not worthy. Building their own chassis and everything, right? And it was back then. Everybody did that, so they didn't. Right. They were good, but they weren't any different than the guy in the next county. Today, it's insane. No, not many people do that. Very few,
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So I wonder if you could help me. So we know we got your dad, we got John.
Yeah.
Some of the other folks, but a whole bunch of other folks. There's a whole bunch of rat poisons, a whole bunch of, different folks. There's Steve Leach, right, with the dragster, the A-Fuel dragster.
That's right.
I guess a pal. There's Greg Mockimer, who's come back out,
Right. I can answer some of that. When Steve Leach was also from the same neighborhood as Dad and John. And my parents took our family and moved us to Tucson because of the Fuel Altered Nationals. John took the injected Mylodon out of the Roadster and put it in the Leach's S&W rear engine car. So that injected motor came out of the altered. And they did pretty well with it. And then John decided to build another altered blown alcohol. So that's how that lasted a little bit with Steve Leach.
So that was John Morey and Steve Leach then together. Right?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. Right for about 2 years, right before John got sick. Yes.
Got it.
And then uh,
What?
Stegman.
Mockingbird, right? Out of,
Stegman got together with Mockingbird, and they built an alcohol 392, I believe, Fiat, and they did it in honor of John because Stegman was such a good friend of
okay.
John and Dad's ramrod type dude. But that was an honor thing. Yeah, they were
Got
never
it.
Morey and Pettinato. They did it out of pure honor for that, which is
Got it.
pretty. Yeah.
Okay, now I understand. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just
So it clears up of not quite as mucky now.
yeah. Well, when you're just
I was
reading
just a
the
tire wiper, man, in those days. I didn't do nothing. But hey, kid, clean this,
yeah,
Don't get run
gotcha.
over by a push start and top fueler, the pits. Right down pit road.
That's right. Well, when you're
That was
reading,
free
just reading
ranging.
the race reports,
Sir?
I said when you're just reading the race reports, it's hard to kind of decipher all that.
Yeah.
You're like, wait a minute.
Those times were so loose, man. And there's, as you know, in the 70s, I could go on all night with stories that you probably can't put on this show. But we, all the hot cars, the push starting cars were always
Yeah.
fitted on the top end. We weren't by the funnies. The funnies were
Right.
always by the tower. When the people came in, you could see
Yeah.
jungle, everybody, right?
Sure.
So we were down with the dragsters all the way on the top. So I was just, again, my dad and John, they were young men. He would take me. I swear to God, I started going just much more than a toddler. And he would say, okay, don't get in trouble. And I would just free range
Yeah.
all day, go underneath
Yeah.
the stands, pick up a wax cup, get some Pepsi in it, and somehow I knew how to be there when they were getting ready to get in the truck to go make one.
Yeah.
But one day, it was at Rockingham, and I was just doing my thing, cruising around. Here comes Gary Beck and the Export A pushing right down the middle of the road, coming right at me. And he opened the injector and hit the switch, and it popped to life, and it pulled away from the push truck. And I'm standing there with my jaw hanging open. It's coming right. I could see Beck's eyes. This hands come out of nowhere and grab my shoulders and yank me out of the way. And Beck just comes cruising right on by with this thing lit. That's the way it was, man. They'd get arrested for that today.
We were kind of what they call a little feral, a little free range in our childhood.
I was that dirty kid with the dirty nose and the Hot Wheels in his pockets that jumped in the back of the truck when it was time to go to the line,
When I was a kid, I lived in inner city Cleveland, and I was single digits, and I was down playing by the river in the industrial mess, with the oil refineries and all this crap, and crossing railroad tracks. It's a different, I didn't, my kids are, I didn't want to let them go out of the yard. It was ridiculous.
It's so we come from a different time, Bill. I mean, the stuff we did in the 70s, our parents would get locked up, it's just different. I don't know how we made it. We got all our fingers and everything. I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, you did so. Moving into the later years here with you did some amazing stuff. And when you're running the I think the Fiat. Tell me, you kind of had some buyright.com had a little bit of sponsorship at once, and
okay. Yeah.
Tell me about that.
That was with the car was built. The chassis was built by J.Ed Horton. It was never ran. It was a brand new car that was never assembled. Chris Hutchison was my old partner. It was his car. It was actually built for his dad. He had the car first. It was never put together. He built it together by himself in Florida. Had an alcohol Chevy in it with a Hayes pedal clutch and a 3-speed, just like an old alcohol funny car.
Mm-hmm.
And I met him through working with Jim Dickey, Southern Fuel Coupes. And
my favorite charity.
My favorite charity car. And he got to crew with us for a little while. And hey, man, check these pictures out. I'm building this altered. And I'm like, wow. And he goes, yeah, that's pretty neat. I don't know anything about tuning it or how to drive it, but I can put it together. So he built this thing. Long story short, we're similar in age. I started going with him and helping him and tuning it. I drove it, and it was a little bit of a challenge because the car was in Florida, and I would just meet him at the racetrack and try to make it a race car in a couple of hours.
Right. Yeah.
But we got it, and the thing finally ended up running 680s over 200, which
Wow.
was just a 500-inch iron Chevy with some Brodix heads, and it wasn't. But we ran it just like a funny car with the pedal and a pedal clutch and everything. Had a lot of fun, and then, long story short, through some family trouble and things that Chris had, and then unfortunately Chris got sick, and we lost him to cancer at 48 years old.
Oh man.
So he died, and before he died, I helped him, and I purchased the car, and it sat for a long time. And then what my kids were junior dragster racing, and then when Robbie aged out of juniors, who's the crew chief on these cars now, when he aged out of junior dragsters, we took that old beat up old car and we turned it into a fuel car with a Chrysler in it and a real fuel.
Right.
So that's how that was. Buyright.com was Chris's stepdad that had a little computer business. That's what that was.
Okay.
That was like 25 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Late 90s, early 2000s were in there.
What did you think about when you got a chance to drive that restored Swinson and Lanning Mustang, which was, folks, if I'm lying, I'm dying. That thing was rough. But that funny cars.
It looked good. Ernie Walker is a great guy. I'm not even sure if he's still with us. I haven't seen him in 20 years or whatever.
I don't know either. I think his wife.
If anybody knows, tell him I said, hey, him and Sandra, nice people.
They were wonderful. Yeah.
Yep. But it looked just like when Jake drove it from 20 feet away. It was the same body, still had his name lettered on it, Jake Crimmins, and they needed. I guess they had several people in it, and they knew that I used to drive these things, and I wasn't at the time. I got in it that night. That was the first time I ever sat in the thing.
Yeah.
And remember, I had a hard time getting it in reverse and stuff. I was literally I was putting the thing in reverse under my right leg. My helmet was up against the roll cage. I was so tight in that thing, I didn't know if I could drive it. Yeah. And we were almost in the water to make our first pass to get around that wear soles for the burnout. My goggles are up on my helmet and they're up against the roll bar. You gonna be all right in there? And I said, we'll find out in a minute. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I can drive it or not. I was that tight. Fired it, put the body down. I did a long smoky. It stopped. I said, okay, I'm all right. But I couldn't get it in. Finally got it backed up. And then I had trouble it was a bear. Finally got it working. Dry hopped it a couple times. It went right down through there.
Yeah.
And I think one of the runs I got a nice stripe on the side of the body, but
you earned your Darlington stripe. Well, I remember talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Darlington stripe. But it was neat. I mean, that thing was legit. There was no escape hatch or nothing. I got down there and
you took a 2 out of 3 that night, if I'm not mistaken.
I beat them. I'd never been in the car before, and but I didn't know nothing special. I just drove it. The car worked, but I got down there on the top end. You know how scary and spooky and dark that place was.
Yeah.
Nobody there.
The woods down there.
There was a 40-watt bulb hanging in a tree. I just kind of aimed for that.
Yeah.
And I crawled out of the window like if it was 1972. Nobody there to bring the body up, no escape hatch or nothing. So that was neat. I got to pretend I was Jake Crimmins that night. Yeah, which was cool because
it was a fun time. Boy, we lost our butt on that circuit, but we had a great first event at Ware Shoals. We packed the place. We were like, oh man, this promoter stuff's easy. We're just gonna go, and then we, then proceeded to lose money everywhere else we went. But it was a lot of fun.
That first one, they were 5-6 deep on the fence. Plus, it was packed out. That was exciting. It was a good time. Yeah,
that was great. Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Where are we at? Let's check in with the chat again. John, anybody have any questions or comments?
Yeah, we've had some more people show up, and the 48 Austin 512 guy is Mike Kalinowski.
Good friend of mine.
What's up, Mike?
He can listen to Dan's stories all night. So cool. And
Hey,
Gail,
Bill, you know that car, Bill, that Austin, that's the old Leonard Cottrell's old AA gas 48 Austin.
Is that right?
It's the
Wow.
same car. It's called Unfinished
Wow.
Business. Yeah.
That's a beautiful car. Nice.
Yep.
sure is, man.
Saw Lenny last year. Me and Jack went up to a Ramrods reunion at Lenny's house
Yep.
and had a great time.
I saw him in Bowling Green when him and John Spielman got their Wallies from NHRA for contributing to the Heritage of the Sport for so many years.
Awesome.
That's really cool. And they hung
Yeah.
out with us for hours in our pit. It was in the rain. We stuck in the trailer to get out of the rain.
Some of the best
Look at
times
Dick.
at the drags are when you're BSing in the rain in the trailer. So,
It's all about your friends, right?
that's right.
Which was really neat because when I was a little kid around those guys, and I wish my dad could have come. He's not doing as good as he used to. It's hard for him to get around, but so he couldn't be there for it. But he would have loved it with talking about land. And they, of course, Leonard was really good friends with John Morey too. So
Yeah.
it was like old home week that day,
Good group of guys. I used to live in Cleveland, so I'd read about all you guys down here and how tight you seem to be, and all these. You go out to a restaurant and just take over the place, and I was glad to kind of become part of that gang over the years.
Montgomery County, especially Silver Spring, Kensington. Len Cottrell will tell you you wouldn't believe how many big hitter racers came out of that little neighborhood.
Heck
Pretty
yeah.
neat. Kind of like Buffalo is with Jim Oddie and all those type of guys. Same type of thing. Yeah.
Yep. Awesome. Well, John, who else do we got out there? Anybody else with a thought?
Yeah, Gail Parent is here, and she says this is great stuff, and she loves it.
Howdy, Gail.
Kate also she said she's been busy working on a drag race, but she's happy to be here with us. And Pete Mariello in Los Angeles said the old days were the best of times.
I agree, man.
He said, I have so many great memories at the drag races, and we all said, amen, Pete. Now, Rodney Potter just posted, he said, was that Ware Shoals, South Carolina track? It's a crazy track to run, especially at night.
Sure was.
That's Rodney said that? Asked that question?
Rodney Potter.
Rodney, yeah. Yeah, I went over that hill after the lights with all four wheels off the ground in an alcohol funny car, just like the Dukes of Hazzard. Both chutes out, probably 3 feet off the ground.
That's it.
That place it's still there. It's about like running in your driveway at 200 miles an hour. Yeah.
It is. My memory tells me there are trees in the middle down there. Yeah. So it's
no guardrails, it's a swamp on both sides of the track. Gators, real live alligators down there. Yeah, it's a trip. It's like a movie, or unless you've done match racing like that, people don't get it. It's not Bakersfield, man.
It was fun. Yeah, there's folks that the story we're talking about is up on Draglist, and I wrote a real detailed story with a ton of pictures of that night. So go look it up. I'll see if I'll find that link and throw it in the show notes here. So you all.
You should, Bill. That deal, it was like Woodstock or something. It was crazy. Yeah.
The little rugrat, like a lot of little kids like you were when you were little, were sitting at them fence 2 or 3 deep and watching it.
That's right.
Got pictures of them. John, does anybody else have a thought?
We're caught up for the moment.
Thank you, brother.
But everybody's just, man, we're loving these stories, Dan. I tell you, man, you quite a history. Now here, Rodney just said, he said, that's crazy. I couldn't believe that you go around the trees and over water in the trees. Very narrow.
Here's one. It might be better. I'm not embellishing. This truly happened. We were racing in Jacksonville, Florida. It was called Jack's Raceways by the airport. Match racing. It was short, of course. I ran that Fiat down through there, and I couldn't stop. At the end of the track, they had a chain link fence gate that opened up like this, and that was their extra runoff area. So I went through this gate, and the runoff was the entrance to a clay circle track. So it was coming, the entrance, that road went right over turn 4 and down onto the front straight. I hit that thing, both chutes out, trying to stop. Fiat starting to do that. I hit that clay, the brake, and it went completely sideways from the, I let go of the brake and it straightened back out. I went over turn 4, again, a Dukes of Hazzard vision, pitch black, like driving into your closet at 190 miles an hour. Nothing, no lights, couldn't see nothing. And left the ground, came down, landed on the front straight, bouncing, beating the heck out of me. Got stopped. I did one of these things. Yeah, everything's still there. Came up out of the roof, and I was right where the flag starter stand is on the front straightaway of that circle track. It's true. They came, this Ford Ranger with the sirens on, a couple trucks, ambulance, fire truck, they all came after me. I'm getting my helmet off, and they, are you all right? I said, yeah. He said, that was awesome. Can you do that next week?
Well,
I'm live and dying.
That clay track would have had a crowd there, man. You'd had a standing ovation.
Yeah, yeah. And then we had to tow. They wouldn't let us turn around and come back. We had to tow around in the mud, the clay dirt, that fuel altered around the dirt track to get back into the pits. That happened. That's a true story. You don't get that at Las Vegas.
Did you ever run the fuel altered at Eddyville, Iowa?
No, I haven't drove one. I tuned one for 2 years. Tuned on one for Jim Dickey.
Yeah.
For 2 years there, but I have never driven one. But
well, there's a little round track at the very end of that too.
There sure is.
And they sit there in the tower and look and see if anybody's on it before they send anybody. And
yeah, and I don't know. It's a mental thing with me. People probably are going to disagree with me, but we've been invited to go to that race a lot, and I just can't bring myself to run at that place. Good friend of mine bought the farm there and the fuel altered. And,
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and it's every year somebody goes in the corn or hits that wall where the circle track is or something. So I don't know. I'd probably be just fine, but it's a mental thing that it's bad juju at that place for me.
We have a lot of history there. We put on a drag list. We used to call it the Draglist Nationals as our reunion of all of it. Started with us going out to see Rapid Randy Baker drive, Scott Gaultier's
Metro Madness car.
Yeah. And so when he first started, I don't know if when he was just going out testing. Yeah. We said, hey, why don't we come watch a test? And then next thing you know, I'm like, hell, we're driving to Colorado on vacation. We'll just stop by. Next thing you know, it became a impromptu reunion. And then we went there for like 10 years after that. It was great.
It's beautiful. The track's very nice, and the people are just great. It's a great facility. I just don't think we got any business going that fast on that little track.
I gotcha. Well, So speaking of going fast, tell us about this latest altar, because you and Robbie tuned it. That's amazing. Yep. I saw you way back in 2018. I saw you go at 6:03 at only 2:14 down at Budds Creek.
Yeah, I started off early racing Randy Bradford. Mm-hmm. That was neat. It was dark. I got down through there, and that's enough. And I lifted through the chute, and I went an 03, which was a track record at the time. Yeah. And we got back in the pits, and of course, I'm good friends. Randy's a dear friend of mine. He came in the pit, still in his boots and his pants. And he said, "What the heck are you doing, man? That was a 570 all day." And then he slapped me on the back, and I'm like, "Yeah, right." He goes, "No, I'm serious." But anyway, so we got a great bunch of guys. Robbie's a crew chief, and we got Lee Ludoff and Macy Ludoff, his daughter. We got Will Ramos. We got Gary Potiki, and we got some really good guys that work on this car. I couldn't do it without them, and they're all like family to me. They're all friends. I go back.
Gary years. The guy? Is that the guy that was on with the top fuel car with your dad way back?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. Well, Gary and I started racing together. I think I was 18 years old, and Gary, he still calls me kid to this day. He was about 24, so now. I'm pushing 60 and he's over 60. I'm still kid. And Robbie's kid junior. So, so anyway, Yeah, Gary's been there forever
That's
since
amazing. Yeah,
since
I
we were
got him
kids.
on it's one of them old typical 60s deals with the top fuel cars, like so many, so many, so many. You put a little dash between the names, you get the three guys' names on the side. I
Pettinato,
think he,
Putikin, and Winston. Yep.
yeah, yeah,
That was that SPE car that got barrel rolled, but yeah.
yeah.
Yep. That was a
So
neat deal.
cool. Well, your new
All
car,
Winston.
is it a 448 KB in it now? Is that what you guys are running?
No, this new car, it's a stock stroke 426. It's a billet Brad Anderson, complete Brad heads and everything. It's got a little field 671 on it. A relatively small pump. Of course, we've gone bigger pump this year. We had a 21-gallon NHRA Heritage funny car type pump on it since day one, and now we've gone a little bit bigger for this year, and shifting it with a 2-speed. No electronics on it all. No computer. I tuned everything from learning from the heroes back when I was a kid. I'm not against the computer, but whenever that money comes around, you got to buy nitro.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
haven't
gotcha.
had that. I've been doing it fine without it. We don't hurt many parts. We're very careful, but so it's pretty old school. We built that thing to look like something you would have seen at Orange County or Tucson in the late 70s, early 80s.
And you
A little
mission
bit shorter.
accomplished. It's a work of art.
Thanks, man. That means a lot. It's 122 long. The motor's out 60 inches. We put the wing on the cage for stopping purposes because the Fiat had no wing at all on it, and
Right.
got over 250. It bounced like a stone, when it
I can
shoots
imagine. Good
with
Lord.
no downforce at all, and you're not driving it for a couple seconds. You
Right.
better be in the middle, and
Right.
so we put that wing on there just to keep it on the ground. Mission accomplished. It works.
Yeah, that's where your 245 comes from there.
Yeah. We went 245 at Buzz with it, straight as an arrow, and hopefully the thing will go over 250 this year. It should.
Yeah.
We went to a 30-gallon pump, so we made some changes. So it should run. It should run mid fives, 255, 260 this year, in a quarter.
Is this a J. Ed Horton car as well, or is it somebody else's?
Part of it is. It's actually the back half from the Fiat, and the front half was built by a friend of mine named Alan Pittman, who's a pro mod racer. Yeah, and
well, remember he was at that race with us too, I believe. I think he was driving the Gravedigger down.
Remember the Gravedigger? That's right.
Yeah,
that was Alan. He's a dear friend of mine. He's just a quality human being, and he front half that car on the same jig that he used to build Scotty Cannon's funny cars,
right.
and that's the same. So that roadster came off the same jig as Cannon's funny cars back in the early 2000s.
Yeah, so, those were killer cars.
They were, and it was all rusty. He hadn't used it in years. I think I still got that thing. And he rolled it out, and there's the jig. That's what we built it on.
So cool.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, we've got a schedule. We go all over this year, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to Tucson, Arizona. We were supposed to be in Dallas last weekend for the Nitro Chaos event, and it got rained out, as you know.
Right.
So they rescheduled it for the first week of May. Unfortunately, but I've got a match race with Richard Hartman in his funny car at Carolina Draglist the same weekend. I'm already booked, so we can't, unfortunately, go back to Texas.
Gotcha. Oh, it's too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hartman, Mr. 492 with a fuel altered himself.
That's him, man. We're pretty good buddies. He sees rat poison quite a bit over at his shop, and now he's we had the body over there doing something to it recently, and he goes, "Where'd you get that body?" I think I'm going to get a roadster body for the funny car. And then I heard from another guy that's listening tonight that he just bought some Zoomy headers from him, and they're for a funny car. They're altered headers, so who knows, man?
Here we go.
He stays pretty busy with the big show, but when he wants to, he can still play.
Yeah, all those Hartman guys are always they were the guy. You remember they came out with those funny cars going 570s, like in the early 2000s or
Sure
late
did.
2000s. I mean,
Kiss
they
My
were
Grits and Sasquatch, and
Sasquatch. Yeah,
Cody was driving the Sasquatch one, I think,
yep, yep,
and who's also we're friends with them too. Um, all those all the whole Hartman Smith family were good
yep.
friends.
They're
Good.
awesome, and so we got our South Carolina family as well. It's a family sport.
I
Well,
think we're
let's
the
check.
pro cars in the state with me and Richard and the Smiths.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Well, getting it done. Let's check in with John one more time, and then we'll start to wrap it up and get us some dinner, I guess.
Right on.
Well, everybody is thoroughly enjoying these stories, Dan. You're just, man, you've done it all and you've seen it all. And
I
we
don't know about that.
and Rich Panicaro just made a post and he said old school rules. And we couldn't agree more. Great stories,
Absolutely.
man.
They were fun. We try to do the show like this, like it was with dry hops. We do the best burnouts we can. It's so hard to do a good smoky anymore. The tracks, even the small tracks, are prepped so well,
Yeah.
and the tires are a different compound than we had in those days. So what you see today is not more than a haze. You go back 30 years ago, you wouldn't have seen the tower. It would have been the same burnout. Would have been a fog
Yeah.
bank.
Yeah.
It's just unfortunate. But we still
Yeah.
run the cars the same way, man. We'll dry out behind the line. I'm talking real fuel clutch cars, not power glides with alcohol in them. I'm talking nitro
Right.
cars. We'll jump the thing off the ground. So it's pretty neat. We'd have a good time. So
Getting it done, my
we tried
friend.
to make it look like when I was coming up, one of those shows, you know, uh, the mob, Dave Huff,
Yep.
Johnny Best,
Spanish galleon, what was
Black
Front
Magic,
Trudeau's car? The black.
Bill Frontudo and Rod Hines, the Coors
Yep.
Light. Rod Hines, I've known Rod Hines since the mid '70s, since the Fiat Ultranationals. He's a dear
Yep.
friend.
He's the man.
You go on and on, and that's what we try to recreate. We're not the fastest and we're not the quickest, but we run pretty good. The car is representative. We try to make it representative of those days. And I mean, there's all schools of thought. How come it's not 98 inches with the crank 2 feet off the ground? That car, if we had one of those cars, it wouldn't go 750.
Yeah.
It just and
Yeah.
the car that we built, that's like 45 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
what part of nostalgia do you want to pick? You know what I'm saying?
I
So
remember, I remember when we were, when I was in high school, I'm 66 now, a 55 Chevy is only 20 years old. I mean,
exactly.
that was nostalgia back then. But, people, what is that now? Ford Tempo? What is it?
I tell
2000.
that to Robbie all the time. Kids, your same story, I'm sure. A '69 Seville or a '68 Charger, or a '67. Those were just cars. They weren't worth nothing.
Yeah.
My friend bought a '68 Charger, $1,500 with a 383 in it, and we beat the hell out of that thing like the Dukes of Hazzard. Climb out the windows out using the doors and all that. It was just a beater. But today, what would that? Just even that would be worth 150 grand or something.
Yeah. Yeah. Ridiculous.
So they weren't that old. They were 10 years old.
Yeah.
15 years old maybe. 55 Chevy wasn't a very old car, and
Who knew that they all get crushed or something? I mean, you can't see them unless you're at the drags or a car show anymore, though.
it's true. It's true. And yeah, times have changed, but it's sad. I feel it's sad. I wish the young people could see, just set them back for a day, for a couple
Right.
weeks or whatever, and see what it was like. And man, everybody, even if you weren't into drag racing, everybody knew who Big Daddy Dungarlitz was, right?
Right.
I
Right.
don't. I mean, the cheerleaders would know who Big Daddy Dungarlitz was,
Yeah.
and I mean, it was an Evil Knievel the same way.
Yeah. Right. Well, a few folks know John Force these days. I guess we'll build off of that.
Yeah,
What?
there you go.
Here's the thing. I post lots of stuff on Draglist, and I regurgitate old stories up. now and then on Facebook. And the most popular one I had recently was Shirley Muldowney. It just got tons of, of course, folks who know Shirley, she can be acerbic. She can't deny what she did. She's mellowed quite a lot,
earned it. She's
as we
earned
all
it.
do.
Can you say she's a legend?
Yeah, but she's, man, I mean, there's just those folks that go by one name, like her first name, like Cher or something like that. Shirley,
Exactly.
everybody knows who she is. But
Exactly.
well, Dan, appreciate you thinking about the old days, but I appreciate you bringing them back to us and letting younger folks see what it was like back then, because you do it legit. You bring it all out.
Thank you. That's what we really try to do. That's how we have fun. And if we're ever in a track around you guys, whoever's listening, please come by and say hey. And if we're busy, just give us a second. I promise I'd love to say hi to you.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to seeing you myself, my friend, somewhere up and down the East Coast here.
Can't wait, Bill. Come say hey. Come by and get a cold drink anytime.
Ooh, got it. I'm always well taken care of at the drags.
Absolutely, buddy.
Thank you so
we go
much.
back a ways, man.
We do.
Yep.
Yeah, we were the beginning of nostalgia. Again, the 2002 era was when that was the whole fun. You were already running in the 90s, obviously, the nostalgia fuelers out
West
there.
Coast, though.
With the funny cars coming back, English Town and I have to say, Ware Shoals, we had our own little, even had what's my buddy's name from English Town came down, the Berserker Bob.
Berserker Bob, right. And the Rat Trap went down that track. Ron was there, made passes. Do you remember that?
Wow.
Yeah. Hope ran the Rat Trap down that.
That's right.
Thing.
That's right. Yikes.
Ron was fearless, man. I really missed him. We raced a lot, and he was a father type figure to me. I really miss him. Good guy.
He's a great guy. Yeah.
Yep.
We're blessed to know, the legends.
Yep.
We're talking to a living legend right now, though. Dan Pettinato, the Rat Trap, Rat Poison, I should say.
Gotta kill the Chevys, man. I have to blame that one on my old man. I just keep it going. 1968 came up with that.
That's right. Make it happen. All right, sir. It's great to talk with you. We'll see you somewhere down the road. Ladies and gentlemen, Dan Pettinato.
Thanks, y'all.
See you later, sir.
See you, man.
Say farewell to Dan, and such an amazing interview. Let's go on over to Mr. John Bachman for this week's JB's Take and the Racer of the Week. John, take it away, sir.
Thanks, BP. My picks for Racers of the Week are Boyd and Kimberly Howe from Colfax, Indiana. They have an outstanding 55 Chevy Gasser that puts on an awesome wheel standing performance, and they race in several organizations around the country. I'm proud to feature them in tonight's segment. I'm going to deliver Boyd's message to me word for word as he sent it. Here is what he told me. He said, I got my love of 55 Chevys from my dad. He always had one when I was growing up. I bought mine after I graduated from high school in 1992. I chose the name Red Baron because I used to listen to my mom's old 45s, and one of the records I loved was Snoopy versus the Red Baron by the Royal Guardsmen. Well, Boyd, I remember that song quite well. It was a #1 hit when I was a freshman in college, and we used to sing along with it. It's a great name for your 55. The car has had the same engines. Let me say that again. The car has had the same engine this entire time, a 454, which was a graduation present from dear old Dad. The motor had gone through several rebuilds and modifications in the last 33 years. I'm currently building it again as we speak. At the moment, the displacement is a secret, but let's just say go big or go home. I bracket raced the car for several years and had fun, but it wasn't until I started doing wheel stands that I realized that the Baron was meant to do this. The car will go on the track on the back bumper every pass, and the reason I continue to do that is for the kids in the stands. If doing a wheel stand turns a kid into a drag racer, then I've done my part. My motto is ETs are forgotten, but wheel stands are forever. Kimberly and I, along with our crew of Sean and Lizzie, have attended every year of the Tri-5 Nationals in Bowling Green during exhibition wheelies, doing exhibition wheelies. And we regularly attend nostalgia races around Indiana, such as Area 41 in Morocco and Battle at the Hill at Bunker Hill Drag Strip. This year, our big plan is to enter the World Power Wheel Stand Contest in Byron, Illinois, and try to bring along as many straight axle gasser style cars as possible. We may not be able to go the distance like the heavy hitter wheel standers, but these cars can definitely put on a show of their own. I would like to thank my sponsors, Bill's Garage in Lafayette, Indiana, Demco. I'm thinking D'Amico because I'm in Houston and we have D'Amico Ryans here. Demco Machine, and especially my wife, Kimberly. Well, Boyd, thank you for this great story. Your efforts are keeping our sport exciting and fulfilling for us all. We wish you good luck, safe racing, and the best of times in the future. My son Nick's band Chironex has completed a 10-city tour from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, New Orleans, Dallas, Tempe, Arizona, Albuquerque, Amarillo, Lafayette, Houston, and finishing last night in Austin. This tour established them as one of the top metal bands in the nation. Nick told me they logged 5,000 miles in a couple of weeks. I never got to go on tour. I played some long distance gigs that were one night stands, but this is a cross country marathon trip and I've been following it with deep interest. Now, these guys are real troopers and this tour was a great success. The exposure they got from this tour will no doubt help to give them an extra push in their quest. They're possibly securing an opening slot for a headlining metal bands tour coming up. I couldn't be more proud of these guys. They're just damn good. I'm planning an end of tour party for them next week. They're going to need a week to rest before their next project. I'm just glad to see them all back home safe and sound. Everybody stay safe and well. You are the most important part of this show and we love you all. It's a great way to spend an hour together on a Monday night. And we'll see you all next time. Go Cougs. God bless America. Back to you, BP.
Thank you, John. Good stuff, man. I'm really glad the guys are back and had such a great tour and awesome racers of the week. I love it.
They had
So,
a fantastic time, and I found out that they didn't lose any money either. They stayed at Airbnb places between gigs, and they paid for gas with the gig money. So
nice.
they all came back in good shape. Everything was cool.
Sweet. Go rock and roll lifestyle, guys. Make it happen.
Yes, it is.
To be young. So, to be young and talented. That's the important thing too. And with your good friends. Well, speaking of good friends, we want to send our condolences out to Mike Racer. You guys all see him with that beautiful yellow Corvair funny car, the rear engine nostalgia funny car. Unfortunately, Mike lost his house, shop, and suffered severe damage with the funny car in a huge, severe storm just recently. He's saying he's in a brand new place. He said he got one shower in his new house before it was demolished. And so he's still kind of looking at everything. I saw a photo today. It was terrible. We're so glad Mike and his family are okay, though, and we hope he's able to get rebuilt and come back soon. But almost nothing didn't get damaged, including the funny car and photos up online. So, Mike, we're thinking about you, brother, and man, tough way to go. I know a lot of our fellow citizens had suffered severe damage in these storms this last week. So, all the best to everybody. Last week we talked about Facebook videos are going to be deleted by June, so we're working hard on that. But as if she hasn't done enough already, Miss K stepped up and said, "Hey, I want to be that person that helps move over the Facebook videos to YouTube, and I want to be the person that helps you do the photo editing stuff too. So just show me what you need." And so Now it's on me because we haven't, although Kay was at a big racing event this weekend. If you saw her videos and also Holly's videos of the great funny cars and the great event they were at. Those are up on Facebook. But we have Kay back now, and we'll pull some time together this week and get things going. So thank you, Kay, an integral part of this enterprise we've got here with John, myself, and so many others. Thank you so much. Let's talk about upcoming guests, and again, talking about Miss Kay. Next Monday night, April 14th, it's Jeff Elliker, the Nitro Funny Car Racer, who is helping us maintain drag racing history by his maintenance of a ton of really great Facebook sites, to include the Great Lakes Dragway site, the Roland Leong Hawaiian site, and others. Jeff Elliker, and you may have noticed this as well, folks, the sites that the groups on Facebook that he manages, he insists that we post promotions for this show on those sites, and we're very thankful to Jeff. And John, thanks so much to him for doing that for us every week. So Jeff helping us promote the show is going to be here on the 14th, and that's next Monday night. Really looking forward to checking in with my old friend. Here's something I should have now going. I'm going to go back to the last segment. I forgot there's something else that's very important that we want to mention here, is that Radio Bob is an online internet radio station on the West Coast that plays a lot of great rock and roll, and it has a motorsports theme as well. So he has started reposting Draglist live shows on Thursday nights. So I haven't had a chance to go out there and listen to one of them yet, but look up Radio Bob on the internet. And if you're around on Thursday nights, he's reposting our shows. So the cool thing is we're here live on Monday nights. Of course, you can always go here to YouTube and play one of the recorded shows as you're working in the garage or whatever else you want to do. But also, thanks to Radio Bob, he's out there reposting our shows as part of his Thursday night lineup, along with some really great rock and roll and some other great motorsports shows. And so thanks so much to Radio Bob. Thanks to Kay for introducing us to him. And I look forward to a long and fruitful partnership with Radio Bob. So cool stuff all around. Joe, as we mentioned, Jeff Elliker on the 14th. Looking forward to seeing Jeff on the 21st. Ida Zetterstrom, the top fuel racer on the NHRA Tour right now. Of course, the European champion a year or two ago. Ida is going to be joining us. On the 28th, Mike Lewis, the Nitro team manager, and himself, a top fuel dragster racer back in the days with the sparkling burgundy machine. And of course, he's actually hopped in a couple of nostalgia funny cars himself. So Mike Lewis will be joining us on the 28th. May 5th, the big man himself, Matt Hagan, the big Nitro Big Show driver, will be joining us. On the 12th, Gage Herrera, the Pro Stock Motorcycle World Champion, defending, will be joining us. On the 19th, John Capps, the Nitro Funny Car stalwart, will be joining us. And of course, we were just talking last week with the owner of the car he's been driving most recently. So John Capps will be joining us on the 19th. And then we'll take a little bit of a breather on Memorial Day on the 26th. And then we'll be announcing our June shows coming up. I'm talking to a number of folks, and so is Kay. And we'll see when we can announce those. But lots of great stuff coming up. A solid 2 months of Draglist Live coming your way. So before we do our final, oh, by the way, those we lost, none to report tonight. So that's always wonderful to report. And so before we do our final wrap, Mr. Bockelman, do you have any final thoughts on the show?
Well, we had a wonderful time with Dan tonight. He just had so many great stories to tell us. I hope we get him back again. The Rat Poison is one of the classic hot rods in drag racing, and it was an honor to have him with us tonight. And my racer of the week is a cool guy. He thanked us on the YouTube channel for featuring him and his wife tonight on the show. And I have some races of the week coming up that are very interesting people. And there's actually some people that post here on the YouTube channel that were formerly Racers of the Week. And we're just really glad that y'all were with us tonight. We look forward to next week with Jeff Elliker. And he's a cool dude.
Yep. We're going to take over Facebook, man, with us and Jeff. Look it out. We're taking it over.
Yep.
All right. Thank you, John. And folks, let's do a wrap. I want to thank Dan Pettinato, who was fantastic. Really, I mean, the time, you talk about just bench racing, man, the time was flying. All right. It was like the minutes were getting eaten up, and we are just having a great time. So amazing stories. And I got a lot of fixing to do on the drag lists on all those the intertwined team members of the early 60s and 70s on all the various cars, but that was great info. John Bachman and my brother taking such good care of us with the great artwork, the great promotion, and of course the Racer of the Week and his take. Kay Turkelson, thank you. Kay was, by the way, was flying from that race. So if I think I heard you say was it her or Kate? Crafty Kate who checked in. Was that Kate who checked in earlier?
Crafty Kate.
Oh, Crafty Kate. So great to see you, Kate. And so Kate was in the air, and so she'll be landing tonight. And she said she will check the show out after. I want to thank Rob McCabe, who has been picking them up and putting them down on the drag lists by just sticking all the NHRA stuff, all the PDRA stuff, all the pro street stuff. Oh my gosh. It reminds me of Danny in some ways, because I mean, that's the kind of stuff where I have this much attention span. It kind of ends shortly after the NHRA pro classes and the alcohol classes and the exhibition guys. But these guys can just go through those just volumes of fast door slammers and get them all up there with photos. It's amazing. So thank you, Rob. I want to thank Melba Shore, who, as always, who really gives us the great old 50s stuff, and Ron Toombs, who was up there just today putting some more great 50s and 60s stuff up there. Ron kind of goes all over the place. He does some 50 stuff, some 60 stuff, some 70 stuff, pretty much anything he sees that needs some editing and that he finds the data, he finds it and he puts it up there for us. So thanks so much. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't do our other background. Hang on. That's not fair. We have to do the same thing every single week. There we go. Hey, there's our background. So JB and Danny and BP. And I want to thank, of course, the big man himself, Danny White, who did so much great work for so many years. He's an amazing guy. And we're thinking about him every single week. We want to thank Jeff Gilder of Zeus Digital Marketing, Racers Reunion, and Wingding Media. As I said before, click the like button there, click the share, and also the great little logo down there, the Draglist logo, will let you subscribe to the channel. So please do. Tell your friends all about us. You can check in on draglist.com daily to see what's new. By the way, Ohio Dave just put up a ton of new photos. He sent us a ton. We don't have them up yet, but those came to me and to Rob today, and we'll get those up. And either on the Draglist or perhaps in a story. And so, oh, aren't you tired of hearing from me already? I think let's wrap this bad boy up. So folks, have a wonderful, wonderful week. It was a lot of crazy raining today that kind of affected our show a bit. I think we had thunderstorms everywhere we were. We certainly did here. But anyway, we got through it. Dan Pettinato, an amazing show. JB doing an awesome job as always. And folks, we'll see you next Monday night for Jeff Elliker. Have a great week.